Hello, good morning, everyone. This is Gerald Lawrence, the chairman of the Delaware County Board of Elections. With me today are my fellow board members, James Byrne and Ashley Longheimer, and I will now call to order the May 12, 2021 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Elections. Our first item this morning is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll give everybody a moment to stand from their chairs. And we will pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good morning, everyone. Let's turn to our agenda. The first item is consideration of the issues of the agenda. Does anyone have any proposed changes?
No, thank you.
Next is the approval of the minutes. They were circulated. I reviewed them. I have no substantive changes, although I do note, and it was probably that I misspoke on the last page. There was a discussion at the last meeting about the procedures in the polling place, and I was speaking about the receipts that are printed out of the scanner machine at the end of the evening and given to various persons. And in the minutes, it says they're given to the leaders. And often the watchers and the minority inspector and the judge of elections are the leaders in a particular town, but it would have been more proper of me to say that under the statute, they're required that the copies of those materials indicating the votes cast are given to the judge of elections and the minority inspector for safekeeping. And then we've adopted the practice in our county because of the number of receipts that are printed that generally watchers and others walk away from them. And of course, they're read publicly, so there is that safeguard. But I don't have any substantive changes to the minutes. I don't think we need to change that. I just wanted to make that clear if anybody was paying careful attention.
I don't have any changes.
Nor do I.
All right, so motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All those moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none opposed, the minutes are adopted. Next on our agenda is a report from Mr. Savage, the supervisor of the voting machine warehouse. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. We have a number of emergency changes to report. 9 total. I'll just run through the whole list, I guess. Radnor 5-1, we're moving from Sacred Heart Academy to St. Aloysius, which is the same polling location as Radnor 5-2. I'll note up front that all of the new locations are either previous or current polling places and have inspection files on inspection reports on file. So Radnor 5-1 from Sacred Heart to St. Aloysius. In Chester, we have several. Chester 1-4 and Chester 2-1 are moving from the Days Inn to Chester Fire Station 82, 320 East 14th Street. That is their historical or pre-pandemic polling location. Chester 2-3 and Chester 4 are also moving from the Days Inn, and they're moving back to their historical polling location, which is the Edgemont Senior Apartments, 1001 Avenue Estates. Lastly, in Chester, this was a latecomer to the game. Found out yesterday, resolved it yesterday. Chester 7-2, we're moving from Iglesia de Aviamiento to the Chester City Municipal Building, which Chester 3 and Chester 6-1 also vote there. Upper Darby, we have 2 precincts in Upper Darby that have to move. Upper Darby 1-3 is moving from Anthony's Restaurant to the Drexel Brook Community Center at 4800 Drexel Brook Drive. Upper Darby 1-8 also votes there. Upper Darby 7-3 is moving from Anna's Place to Christ Lutheran Church, 77240 Walnut Street, Upper Darby. And lastly, Norwood 1 is moving from a private residence to Innaborough High School, where it'll vote with Norwood 2. And I've committed to the local municipal leaders that after this election will seek out a more appropriate voting location for Norwood 1. So that's it. That's a 9.
All right. They're moved pursuant to the emergency procedure because of the timing to the election, but we traditionally approve them retroactively, and I guess it would be appropriate to entertain a motion to that effect at this time.
So moved.
And I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
I just had one question for Mr. Savage. Just that when you say more appropriate, do you mean that the parties are interested in the future in identifying a new location? Not that there's anything inappropriate with the one that's been accepted for emergency.
Exactly.
Okay.
Specifically, they're looking for a place within the precinct.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make that clear. No, I have no other discussion. Thank you, Jim. I know this is a lot of hard work.
You know, Jim, I had one question. Anthony's Restaurant, for something, I may just be mistaken, but haven't we had to move that one before?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So maybe that's one we should take a look at, trying to find a better, more permanent location.
Find a permanent home for that. The owner of the restaurant, Mr. Foster, called me back in February, maybe, told me that he was closing or moving his restaurant, but that we were okay to vote there for the primary and would need to find a place for the general, a new permanent location. And then when we called to schedule deliveries, or when we sent out the final list after the last meeting, then something had changed with the situation there, and it wasn't available for the primary either.
Okay. So that's, I guess, more work for the summer. So, all right. Anything else? We're ready to vote?
I'd also point out that for all these changes, signs have been hung. Crystal has been notified. Shore has been updated, and new voter registration cards have either been mailed or in the process of being mailed for the most recent ones, and the party leaders have also been notified.
All right, thank you. Anybody, anything else on this, or we'll call the question?
Jim's also been good about updating the website as well, so I want to make sure that's on the record.
The website and the map are all updated.
All right, good. And you know, I think that is very helpful to the voters, as inconvenient as these changes are and the difficulties they present, to the extent that we can make it easy for people to find where they have to go. It is very much appreciated. You know, something that we've certainly in the last year or so spent a lot of effort and time on, and I think I'm certainly thankful. I think the voters are thankful for the efforts that y'all have put into to make that happen. So let's call the question. All those in favor of approving these 9, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
So the motion carries 3-0. And now, Mr. Savage, a report on the deliveries and the LNA testing.
LNA testing went fine. The machines operated nearly perfectly. the ones that we had problems with, as always, we take them out of service and swap it out with a new one. But everything was appropriately tested. We beat our deadline by, I think, 4 business days, despite having a late start and some challenges in the beginning and a little bit more complicated ballot this time. Everybody here, the staff here, did just an amazing job on LNA. So I'm really proud of that, proud of them. So LNA is good. State was notified in plenty of time. As far as deliveries, all of today is our first day of actual. We started loading trucks yesterday afternoon for this morning's deliveries. All of this morning's deliveries have been delivered. They're at the polling locations. The afternoon runs are in the process of being delivered, or actually, I think I hear a truck out there right now. We're loading, so we're in the process of getting the afternoon runs. Like I said, they're either already on the street or they're here getting loaded. Then they'll come back this afternoon and we'll load them up for tomorrow morning's run. We have the entire warehouse is staged in loads and ready to go. We're ahead of the game here. Everything's going as well as it can be. And I think this is a wooden table in front of me, so I'll knock it.
Thank you, Jim. And thank you for working so hard to get this done. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Savage?
No, thanks.
No, but thank you. That's excellent. And I don't know, you'll have to do 5 days before in the general. I'm just kidding. Set a high bar.
Does anybody mind?
Well, there's less candidates in the general. It goes quicker.
Does anybody mind if I jump off now and go tend to these trucks?
No, I don't think we have any reason to prohibit you from leaving, and we certainly appreciate you and everyone down the warehouse who is working so hard to make sure this equipment gets out in a timely way for next week's election. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass that along, and we appreciate y'all too. See you.
Thank you, Jim.
Our next report is Mr. Allen, the Director of Elections. So good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. I appreciate you gathering on this day to go over this. I mean, these emergency changes are not action items, and it's really good that I think you took the time to make sure that the public has every chance to be aware of these changes. So I'll keep this report rather brief. The overall election preparations, the vote by mail processing is staying on time. The SURE reports got off to a slow start to the voters, where it was there was a muddled message there. But more recently, the SURE emails out to the voters have been timely and more accurate, telling voters that their ballots have been received. So that's a good thing. Yesterday was the cutoff for vote by mail and absentee applications. So now the only applications that we're processing are the ones where the individual has checks off one of 4 excuses, such as planning to be out of town or was detained from applying because of business or other duties, just to give a couple of examples. So next, on poll worker training and pickups, we had the first of several Ask Anything conference calls with poll workers last night. It was very instructive to hear the concerns, the various questions and concerns that they had. Some who had gone through training and some who hadn't, and some who were looking forward to going through training. So that was joined by Ms. Winterbottom, Ms. Hagan, Mr. Parks, and Ms. Carfagno, who's heading up the training, and most importantly, Ms. Iacono, who's handling all the recruitment, and I'll get to that in a second. The drop boxes, next we've been meeting with security here in the building, as well as community services and park police and others who are involved in the drop pickups of supplies this Saturday at 1 p.m. for our judges of election at 3 locations, Upland Park and Rose Tree Park and the Emergency Services Training Center. So those are based on where the precincts are. So we're having a lot of communications with the judges of election on that, and we're getting out the paperwork. If the judge of election can't make it, what paperwork must be completed, the affidavit that has to be completed. The drop boxes, all 41 of them are online. I reported that to you before. The cameras are all functional. We're going to look to make some adjustments at Nether Providence, which is the Kate Furnace Library, because the sun pattern is conducive to operating those cameras now in May. It's not going to be in October. That was an issue last fall. We're going to look to resolve that with some electrical work and work out an agreement with the library. So that's hardline connected. So we're not reliant on the patterns of the sun in October. Voter registration deadline passed without event. Crystal's team kept up with it. They're working on the poll books right now and putting the last few items, including the provisional ballots. We're getting those materials from Lorene down here. And that is it for now. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Jim, it's Jerry. One of the public comments this morning, I don't know if you saw it, the comments that Ms. Hagan circulated this morning dealt with the box in, I think it was Newtown Township. Is there a drop box in Newtown Township? This comment seemed to indicate that there wasn't.
No, there is not a drop box in Newtown Township. What happened was Newtown Township alerted us about 3 weeks ago that they had cut the concrete and the box out and removed it to their public works yard and basically told us to come and pick it up. So they told us in enough time to remove Newtown Township from the list that went out to the voters with their vote by mail and absentee ballots. They had suggested that we could negotiate with them a new agreement, but it was impossible to change the mailing at that point, and they had already ripped it out of the ground. So since then, we've received information from Newtown Township that they now want to work with us to get it reinstalled ahead of the November election. So that was a decision that was made by Newtown Township. I respect whatever led to that decision, but there was obviously no time for us to, try to negotiate with solicitors a new agreement and pour concrete after they they literally cut the concrete out. So that was the situation, and we were left to roll with that, and that's what we did.
Okay. And then we will move forward to establish a location with their agreement, hopefully for the fall, so that in the fall election that box back in Newtown Township.
Yes, yes, sir. Earlier this week, Newtown Township followed up and communicated with me that the board there had indicated or had voted to have that, to work out an agreement to reinstall that. Fortunately, the camera was not removed, and we have a functional camera there. So that's still in place. It's just a matter of getting the drop box out of the warehouse, and then I don't know if Newtown's going to pour new concrete or whatever, but then just mounting it back on the secured posts, the bolts that go up, and then you have to get inside the drop box in order to access those bolts. So it's a pretty secure setup. So we'll get that resolved this summer and be ready for November.
All right. Anyone else have questions for Mr. Allen?
No, thank you.
No, but thank you for providing such clear information about what happened to the public in this meeting. I appreciate it.
Certainly. Then under old business, there's been an interest in when we're going to be able to resume in-person meetings. The county council is doing their testing right now to see if the PA system, now that they're going to resume meetings, they're aiming for June the 2nd. I think a couple of meetings ago, I had indicated that we were hopeful that by the end of May or early June, we also would be able to join the in-person crowd. I know this is convenient, this remote format is convenient, but it may not be as conducive to, hearing directly from the public and having an interactive exchange of information with them. So we're still on target, it looks like, for early June.
And I can see later on our agenda, we're going to talk about our next meeting date, which will be the certification meeting to certify the results of the election. And maybe that one will be in person, or at least we could schedule it today, assuming it'll be in person, and we'll move forward with that thought. So, does anyone have any other questions for Mr. Allen? Well, I guess not. Sorry, I already asked that. So I guess we can move on to public comment. Mr. Hagan, was there any additional public comment since what you sent this morning?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's 2 comments. One is from James Bergman. He is from Springfield Township, and it's actually signed by James and Jessica. And it says, my wife used the ballot drop box in Springfield yesterday and found it to be convenient and uneventful experience. I wanted to communicate that experience in advance of your meeting today. I look forward to many years in which voter access is that seamless and efficient.
Very nice.
And the second one is from David Bennett, also from Springfield. Mr. Bennett writes, I want to thank you, the members of the Delaware County Board of Elections, for a smooth, easy, and reliable election in the face of extraordinary obstacles. Under ordinary circumstances, I imagine you must have to take quite satisfaction in doing your job well, because a smoothly run election does not draw attention to itself. But in 2020, the convergence of a pandemic affecting voters and volunteers and seemingly relentless attacks on election integrity from many sides threw a spotlight on your hard work. As a registered Delco Republican for decades, I'm encouraged and proud that what could have been a disaster turned out to be a demonstration that our elections are fair, accurate, and trustworthy. Thank you for a job well done. And they are the 2 comments which remained.
All right. Well, we're doing something right in Springfield, at least. So it's nice to hear. Is there? I don't see new business on our agenda, but is there any new business?
No, thank you.
None for me, thank you.
All right. Well, I guess that leaves us to schedule the next meeting. So Mr. Parks will check me, but we have to certify in 20 days after the election. Is it 21 days? It's 20.
My recollection is 20, and we'll confirm that after the call.
So it's the Monday 3 weeks after. So election's the 18th. So would be June 14th.
I think sooner than that.
Yeah, we should have probably figured this out before we got in front of the.
I want to say it's June 8th off the top of my head.
All right. We will schedule it for the 20th day, and we will publish it as the statute requires so that everybody knows. I know we like to announce at the meeting when the next meeting is, but since this has to be scheduled pursuant to the statute rather than do it in a rush right now and screw it up, let's do it the right way, and then we will publish it and give notices we are required to. But it is likely going to be the Monday 3 weeks after the election, because that's what 20 days works out to. So,
which would be I'm correcting my math. It's the 7th of June.
Okay. So, all right. Unless there's anything else, I think we can adjourn. Anybody?
No, thank you.
No, thanks.
No? All right. Good morning. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.